Mr. Hara, welcome back to my channel, to the Witchy Reader. So I'm going to be talking about the latest book I finished, The Mantis Corruption, Book 3 in the Mantis Variant series, or Mantis Gland series. I keep saying Mantis Variant because that's the first book, but I think it's actually called the Mantis Gland series. But I loved it again. I finished the second book in less than a day. I started like later in the day, like really late in the day because I was busy during the day, so I started it more like pretty late, so I didn't actually finish it until past midnight the next day, but it was still less than a day because of when I started it. And this is the same thing. It's 2:43 in the morning, and part of the reason why it took me so long to finish this book was because I kept getting interrupted by my annoying siblings. I love them, but they are annoying. uh they're siblings. What can I expect? But they kept interrupting me, and for a while I felt like they would interrupt me after every page I read it. I just felt like it was taking me forever to read this book, even though I was really enjoying it, and it's not that long of a book. But oh well. But other than that, I was really enjoying it, and I did read it pretty fast, despite all the interruptions. Um, it was just amazing. How do I explain this book? So, um, each book, they keep adding new characters, and then by the middle or a little bit later after the middle, the it it would show the character's journey until they um talk a little bit about their past, and then show how they get to where they are now, and then they meet the characters you know and love from the previous books. Book one, most of these characters that you meet in book one. A couple of them were new characters from book two, um, and then it's gonna probably be for the same thing for book four, which I already know there's gonna be a couple of new characters because I interviewed the author. Was it last week? No, it was 2 weeks ago. Um, and because of it, I already got a little insight into some things like the new characters and stuff. So I'm excited for them to meet all these characters. But there's just so many things I love. Well, first of all, I do love the new characters, and of course, I love seeing the old characters again. And there was one character so in second book, I think there was only two new characters in that book, if I remember correctly. No, there was more. There was, because there was also the bio shifts. Okay, I was just thinking of T'Chama. I don't know if their name right, and Ninyani. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right either. But anyways, they, um, with T'Chana, they Ninani they actually met closer to the beginning, but Tichana they actually already met in between books one and two. So they showed a flashback, so we saw when they first met, but when the book started, they already knew her. She was already kind of into this fan family thing, and um, so there was one new character who was kind of like that. Well, actually, I don't know how long Dot and Auntie Peg or Peggy have actually been together. So they might have been together for multiple years, and we're just now meeting her. It's never really stressed. All we know is that they're together. Um, so it could have been recent. It could have been for a lot of years. I have no idea because it never specifically stated. I cannot speak. Okay, it is 2:46 in the morning, so I cannot speak. But anyways, I liked the inclusion of Dot. She seemed like a very sweet person, and I kind of liked her relationship with Pig from what we saw of it, and how close she was to the Mystic and his husband, the Elon. I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing almost every single name of these. The only ones I know for sure I have correct is Agro because said it was correct. Though I'm pretty sure I have Dozy and Elia correct as well. And then Peg, I'm pretty sure I've correct. But a lot of these I'm not sure if I'm getting their names right, so bear with me. But there was so these two characters so there's four new characters besides Dot, who is already part of this group and found family when we meet her, even though this is the first time we meet her. Four characters. Two of them are together throughout the entire thing. and then two of them meet early on, and then they become this family until they find this bigger family. So I'm not gonna get anybody's name right. I swear. But with Tisa and Alana, I'm pretty sure I have their names right. Um, sorry for the little noise. The kittens are in a playful mood, and as you can tell, I'm not in my room because that's where I usually film. I share a room with my mom, and her and my brother are asleep, and because it is very late, and my sisters are asleep in the living room. So I stole their room for a while so I could do this tonight. Um, so that I like to do book reviews right after I finish the review if I am able to. Because I was originally going to do this after I wake up, but then I was like, I kind of want to get it done and then out, and then I can sleep because I'm tired. But and this way I have it all fresh in my brain. But yeah, but and but the other two characters. So Tisa's a shift, and then the other two characters that have been together for the entire thing are a shift, and they start off the book technically in a way murderers, but at the same time it's not their fault because they were uh, raised there for half their life and they were forced to do horrible things. But now that they escaped, they don't want to go back. Um, so yeah, but um, but even though these four people haven't met each other until they meet these other people, they were all from the same area. They just never met until they all meet this huge group. The group we've already met since book one, or a couple of them in book two. But yeah, so um, Batista and Alana, we got to see their journey, and then it kind of backtracked a little because even though they're just now meeting the rest of the group, they have actually been in town a little over a year, and so we got to see how they got to town and how they were actually a part of the battle that happened at the end of the last book, which I really like that. And you find out that they've been a part of this all along. We just didn't know it because we didn't know them. Um, so um, that was a nice little Easter egg, and we got to see a little bit more of the battle from their point of view, and got to see some more parts of the battle that we didn't get to see in book one since they weren't there. We didn't get to see what they saw, um, so that was fun. And then the other two characters, they are different because honestly, it's kind of like with Agrel because she was so shielded when she left the cult that she was a part of because she didn't know how what she was so shielded that she didn't realize she was in a cult, and then when she realized what they actually do once she comes of age and is supposed to become a messiah, and she saw what they do to shifts and stuff, she was like, no thank you, and she left, which like I get it, and like you go girl because she deserved it. As you probably could tell by now, Agro is my favorite character in book one, and I'm still heartbroken with how her story ended. I am still not over it, and I probably will never be over it. Her death made me weep so hard. I think it's been a while since I was that sad over a character's death in a book. So I put her up there with Fred and Lupin from Harry Potter, um, Matthias and David from the Grishaverse, and Udrak from the Seekers. And anyone who knows me knows those would be my top saddest character deaths in books. And she's up there with them, so it is an honor to be up there with them because I put them pretty high up. But anyways, moving on from that devastating event that had occurred. um, I did, even though they never mentioned Agril, I still felt like she was present in some ways. Not just because of how the two of them were shielded from her, they didn't know what messiahs were, or the fact that they were shifts, or they were bio shifts, because they were pretty shielded, and even though they had this power, they didn't know that anyone else had these powers. They thought they were alone in this, and they definitely didn't know of the existence of bioships and stuff. So they were kind of in their own cult, I guess, in a way. I see it. It's not as major as the Messiah cult, but it's still kind of a cult, I guess. I think the entire town is kind of a cult from what all four of them were saying. But anyways, Alana, especially towards the middle to end, I saw a lot of Agrel in Alana. Um, because especially this one scene gave me serious deja vu because there's one of my favorite scenes in book one. Uh, One thing that I love that Adam did in the series, which he's mentioned in his interview, was that because he has other books out there, and because he focused so much on relationships and sexualities in them, he doesn't so much on here. So there's only a couple established relationships, like the Mystic and his husband, and Peggy and Dot. Um, that a lot of these sexualities are and possible romantic feelings can be up to the readers to perceive however they do. Um, like if you see some hints that a character might be a lesbian, um, he may not actually ever state that is true or even show them in a relationship with a woman, but he left it up for readers to decide, which I thought was really interesting and I really like that. And one thing I did and there was one thing in book one I kind of had this feeling that there was something more to um, Agrel and Lahari's relationship, especially in one scene when uh because Agrel, most bioshifts kind of think that they're disgusting or will assume that everybody else who isn't a bioshift, even other shifts, will think that just because of the way they look. Bioshifts um so shifts I probably explained this in my last reviews, but if you didn't see those, which you definitely should if you want a more clear view of what the other first two books were like, shifts have superpowers and um, they all have a different power, and they have this mantis gland in their brain which gives them the powers that they're born with, and can't, people can steal their powers by turning cannibalism and killing them and eating the mantis gland. So there's that. Um, but bioshifts, it's where their powers start manifesting the way they look, and they become something else. Like Lahari, she has like I think a greenish skin, and she has some scales and stuff. So I think she has a tail if I remember correctly. So yeah, um, and uh, but Agrel never saw her in that way. From the moment she first met her, she was amazed and she was shocked at first, but that's only to be expected because she wasn't expecting to see a bioshift when she first met her, but or she didn't expect her to see her like that. So she but then there was this one scene when she touched Lahari, and Lahari was confused that she wasn't grossed out or weirded out by it. But Agra's like, "Why would I be?" And she just said it so nonchalantly, so casually, like she genuinely didn't know why Lahari would think that it would be grossed out for her. And honestly, in that moment, I was like, "Yes, these two are in love. I don't care what anyone else says. That is my personal headcanon." And I started shipping them real hard. But there's a similar scene in this one where Ohana, Ahana, however you pronounce the name. Why is it Ohana? Oh, I can't speak today. I give up. um, she touches one of the bioships that was introduced last book that Lahari befriended near the end. Um, and a bunch of bioships have formed a team to kill messiahs, and um, she one of them was Gawa, and she touched Gawa's arm, and Gawa was like, "This doesn't uh, gross you out?" And she was like, "No." And there was also a scene later on, and so that gave me serious vibes from Agrel and Lahari scene in book one. But later on, Gawa took her arm away from her in a different scene, and then she missed and then she realized she missed them touching skins or holding hands or whatever they were doing. Uh, so I kind of sensed there's something there, but I don't know, maybe that's just me again. But yeah. So I definitely liked that she gave me aggro vibes, and it made me like her more and more as the story progressed. Because anyone who knows me at this point knows that I love aggro because I keep mentioning her every time I make a video about the series. I absolutely love her. Um, and I guess that made me think like the memory was still alive. Like, um, yeah, but so that was nice because I love that girl. And but I one thing I also love is that so when you first meet Dozy in book one, she she was always like a good person. She had a good heart. She was kind and nice. She's just sassy and sarcastic at times too, but you know, it's Dozy. But I felt like in book one she was just so jaded, I guess. And so I don't know, like she just didn't really help many people that wasn't herself. I wouldn't really call her selfish because she would help people, but she in the first book it just felt like a lot of times she only did it because people around her was doing it. Like there were several times where she mentioned we shouldn't get involved, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't take this person in, and this and that. Uh but then in book one she meets Agrel and Elia. The three of them were the main characters of book one. So when she meets the two of them, Agrel especially, who wants to help literally everybody, she literally sacrificed herself for a whole bunch of people who hated her because of where she came from. I'm still not over it, as you could tell. Um, uh, and Elias, and then those made a comment towards Laya at the end of book one, I think, where Agrel was rubbing off on her because she started wanting to help people more as well. Because she wasn't as jaded as Dozy, but she also was really afraid of her powers because of what her past. So she um kind of didn't really help many people either. She was more isolated, so it's not that she was so much jaded. She just was more of a loner of isolated than them. So because of that, she didn't really help people either. But she never really put herself in a position to be around people to help. So it's a bit different than Dozy's situation. But anyways, so I feel like Agrel kind of rubbed off on both of them, especially Dozy because I feel like I just love her character growth so much. She's definitely become one of my favorite characters. But then again, there's a lot of characters that I absolutely love. It's really hard to choose a favorite. Adriel aside, now that she's dead, um, it's just really hard to choose a favorite because they're all so amazing. There's so many amazing characters that I have grown to love so much. But Dozy's growth is a personal favorite of mine because in book three, when um with Sumi, that's one of the ladies from the compound, or the cult, the other cult, and then I don't know how to pronounce the other one's name, so I'm not gonna try. But Sumi and her, they were they ended up in Dozy and Elias' place because of Sumi's power, and because of it, but immediately Dozy was the first one to woke up and noticed him, and she immediately was like, okay, we need to help them. And I feel like that's just such a huge growth for Dozy because in book one I did not see her just immediately jumping in to save people and going out of her way for it. Not that she didn't care. I moved the table so my got all jittery. Okay, but just because she had such a bad past that she just didn't care to help anybody else, like she just preferred helping herself. Like it's always been that way. But I feel like uh, Agril and Alaya, especially Agril and her sacrifice, I feel like really made her grow as a person. And I feel like her and Agril were definitely meant to meet, and same with Laya, like three of them were meant to meet. Agril's meant to have that sacrifice despite how heartbreaking it is. And it I feel like it made all the characters grow. Mostly Dozy and Laya, but a little bit of Lahari as well. Because I'd say three of them were the closest to her. I mean I feel like she was pretty close to the Mystic and his husband as well. Um and on Peggy. But yeah, so but I just think that I just absolutely love Dozy's character growth. I feel like it's just so subtle, like she's still the same character, and those are my favorite character growths. Don't get me wrong, I love a good redemption arc because some villains can be redeemed, and I do love a good redeemable villain who does have a redemption arc. Though again, I do love the villains who are just plain evil. There's no redemption, but I love when characters are like, or even when it's not a redemption arc and characters are just make a full 180 where it's like they were a complete jerk, now they're a saint or something. I don't know. but my favorite character growths are the ones that are more subtle, um, where it's like they're still the same person, but they grew as a person. You know, Dosie's still very much the same, stubborn, hard-headed, sarcastic, sassy Dozy we met in book one, but she also is a better person and she grew as a person and a character. Like in real life, people don't just do 180s. A lot of times they stay who they are deep down, but they're just grown and they've become a better person or they matured or however their growth worked. And so those are my favorite character growths because that's the growth you see in everyday life. And I absolutely love Dosie's. It was just amazing. And I'm so happy with how her story has turned out and how jaded she was and how alone she was and now she has this huge family that she's a part of. So and there was this and then the ending was kind of a cliffhanger, which makes me a little scared for book 4. But I'm also very excited um, because the book ended with this cliffhanger, and I have so many questions, and now I need book 4 like ASAP. So yeah, but it was amazing, and I absolutely loved it. So definitely check out the series if you haven't already. You have to, again, I'll make sure to say you have to be okay with horror, especially a lot of gore because there's a lot of gore. But it is amazing. Highly recommend. Won't disappoint you. If you like gore, great because there's a lot of it. But there's great character arcs as I mentioned. There's some heartbreaking deaths for beloved characters. There are some sweet, heartwarming moments. There's this huge found family, which I absolutely love because found family is everything. It's my favorite trope, and it's one of the tropes I think it's the only trope I make sure I write in every single one of my books, and I absolutely love it. So any book with found family trope definitely has my immediate interest. So there's always that, and I love how the found family's growing um, with every book. And yeah, so definitely check this out. Highly recommend. Please like and subscribe and comment. Um, if you like horror, if you want to read this series, I definitely recommend go check it out. And I'll talk to you guys next time.